My name is Yosiah Johnson. I am an actor, director from Cincinnati, Ohio. I got my start in 2015 on the Miles Davis film shot here. It was Don Cheadle's directorial debut. That kind of set the standard for me, and it really birthed the dream and goal to work in film. Me and my mom, we moved around a lot. My mom was a hairdresser, so it was all about clientele. So sometimes we would move in different areas from time to time. So I would say majority, kind of like the Mount Healthy area, actually graduated in Wynn Woods, which never really attended Wynn Woods, but we moved literally during my senior year of high school. So you can only imagine how frustrated I was to have to go to a school or live in an area I didn't know, didn't have any friends. But I think that experience of moving around really helped me to adapt to, whatever crowd, group of people I was around. So it really helped. As a child, the acting chops was always there. I think most children are dramatic in a sense, so you could kind of see it early on. I did some church plays. I actually did a school play that I didn't really tell people about because at the time, drama, it wasn't cool. You had to be on the basketball team or the football team. But I really enjoyed drama, but I never really pursued it because it just wasn't the cool thing to do. And it wasn't until 2015 when a friend of mine said, hey, Don Cheadle is gonna be in Cincinnati filming Miles Ahead. You should come be an extra. I'm like, how long is it? Well, they say it's gonna take 12 hours. 12 hours? On set for 12 hours? I'm like, But it sounded interesting. I was like, I'll do it. And it was one of the best decisions ever. And one of the most coolest thing about it is that my extra role, which wasn't significant at all, but my role was to walk behind Don Cheadle. So you couldn't really see me in the film, but the coolest thing is that I got to see him in his process, really just tap into the character. And when the director said action, he just tapped in. So I think being able to be, though my extra role wasn't significant, but the experience was it all. And that's what really got me started. Probably the film scene in Cincinnati is what really got me interested in making film. So Cincinnati, as most know, it's a real up and coming film scene. I mean, you have a community, absolutely, but me as an actor just wanting to do more things, and you got to find projects that's here or locally. And I think the fact that I really couldn't find a lot of the roles that I wanted to do, or it just was moving slow. I'm like, you know what? Let me try this. And, I reach out to a filmmaker too, say, hey, let's do something, and it start with a really small script and kind of build to a bigger script. So it was really out of the necessity of me wanting to act more and for me wanting to do different roles and not kind of be put in a box and playing the same thing over and over. So that was really what inspired me and say like, hey, let me try this. Yeah, I never thought I would be acting. Definitely never thought I would be writing or directing or anything like that. But I think the passion for it is what's really fueled me. Yes. So after Miles Ahead, there was another film here. So I was really on this extra kick. I'm like, this was a time I felt like Cincinnati had a few films just back to back. It was another film called, I think they end up naming it The Blunderer or something. They change these film names all the time. But, so I was on this extra kick, but now I was like, okay, I love being an extra, but I need a role. I need to really be able to have lines and really be able to really get some experience. So luckily came across a few local independent projects here in the city. Got my first role in a film called Portia Dupree, which was very interesting. Then from there, I did Touch of Stardust, which was really, I feel like was like my launching pad because I got to star in this film, full feature film, based in Cincinnati. We were on all the major news stations here promoting the film. It was just a great time. I was like, oh, this all right, I like this. But really just being able to get that recognition, not only from the community here, but from the news outlets. So from Touch of Stardust, it was like, okay, I think I want to write some stuff. I think I want to direct some stuff. So I started with a project called Abandon, which I had Lavelle help me out with. And, it was kind of like my learning experience, because it was like, I ain't think about this. I didn't think about that. Because I don't have any formal training, you know what I mean? It's just really me having the passion and me really just putting my best foot forward and just trying to get as many resources as possible. So from there, it's just been short film after short film, kind of building up to my latest project, Conviction, which was really my opportunity to completely get behind the camera. Abandon, I talked about, I was acting in it and directing, which me personally, I learned that if I want to direct a project, and this is just me, if I direct a project, I just want to direct it. I don't want to direct and act. Now, some people can do it. I just don't prefer it. But with Conviction, I really got to completely get behind the camera, see everything, the lighting, audio, just really focus on the direct process. Yes, preparing for a project. So I would say on the acting side, what I've learned over time was really learning as much about the character as possible. I think you have to understand that you are playing a character that's not you. And I think a lot of people kind of get into acting with that mindset, is that, they bring in their own self to the character, knowing that, no, this character lives a whole complete different life than you. So you have to really understand the backstory of the character to really figure out how you want to respond, at what tone, or, what grinds your gears, or how should you present a particular piece of dialogue. So I would say on the acting side, just really researching as much as possible about the character so you can really tap into it. Now, on the directing side, production side, step by step. It's a process, it's a journey, it's nothing you can do quickly, so really just taking the steps to really get everything done. I mean, making a film is hard work, and I tell people, it's hard work. It's not easy, it's gonna be stressful times, et cetera, but when you get that final product, and you really can sit back and say, like, man, I did that. Like, literally, it was just that idea, and now it's reality. So it's a beautiful process, but it's really one of those processes you just have to take step by step. And it's a learning process. I feel like you can go to school as much as possible, but it's nothing like actually physically putting the work in and learning project to project. So I am a sci-fi guy. And sci-fi thriller, that, I don't know, it's just something about creating stories that are unlike reality. I think that those type of stories really inspire me, just being able to be creative, and I think creating a world. Like, okay, I can write and create my own world. I think that's probably one of the funnest things to do, is to really shape a world that, you can imagine, or a world that you wish exists, or whatever that may be. So I enjoy studios, and I enjoy writers that create worlds, and I can think of so many directors, but I think for me it's just creating worlds, really. And I don't really want to box myself into a particular genre of film, but I would say sci-fi would probably be the lead. I could actually really see myself creating just a long list of sci-fi projects, fantasy projects, but I think just creating a world is my goal, is to say, if they watch one of my projects, to be able to take one particular thing from that. Maybe you don't completely relate to that, but there's something in there that you can take and say, like, man, I love how he wrote that or created that. And I could take that piece of information or that experience and take it into my world. Because we all live different. We live in one world, but we all have our own worlds in a sense. So that's what I really want to create, is create worlds to where we can see each other's world and be able to relate and understand where we come from. Conviction. So Conviction started out as a project about forgiveness. So I think, as I was telling you before, I want to create worlds. And with this world, Conviction, I wanted to focus on forgiveness. I think forgiveness is a part of everybody's world in a sense. But in Conviction, this lady, she made a very bad decision. And that decision led to a life-changing altercation without giving away the film. And a year later, she tries her best to just kind of overlook. I think sometimes we do things and we try to overlook them. We try to just push them to the side and hopefully it just go away. But in reality, some things just don't go away. And sometimes you have to face that thing. And sometimes it haunts you in a way. But at some point, she gets the courage to ask for forgiveness, to confess of this thing that she's done. And to her surprise, she's forgiven. And it blows her mind because it's a very terrible thing, but she's forgiven. And there I was like, okay, this is a good story. I like it here, but I wanted to take a step further. So she had to seek forgiveness. But then towards the end of the film, she had to forgive. So basically the shoes kind of got switched on the other foot. So it's like, okay, I did this really bad thing and I need forgiveness. But then she's put into a position to where she has to forgive somebody else for a bad thing that she finds out later on. So, and I think I wanted to write it that way because I wanted to give both perspectives that sometimes we are on the side where we have to forgive. Sometimes we're on the other side where we need forgiveness. So being able to process the idea of forgiveness is a big thing. And I think forgiveness is a very important thing to all of us. 90s film is my inspiration. I mean, I know that's generic, but it was something about the 90s era of films, TV shows, that was just, I mean, honestly, probably a lot of what I watch today is still 90s films and TV series, literally. So, like, that stuff was my inspiration as I go back, and now it's crazy that I'm into film because I was just such a fan of it then. I go back and see some of the work and some of the shots and the dialogue, the acting is just so amazing. I mean, come on, Denzel Washington, I mean, hands down, probably one of my favorite actors. For me, it's just the way he taps into the character where it's just unapologetic. He don't even need, if something happens, and this is what I love too, I love about acting is that you can really tap so much into the character that it doesn't matter if the scene changes, you in that character. Somebody can fumble a line and you in that character, but I would say Denzel Washington was probably one of my favorite. Viola Davis is another amazing actress. Leonardo DiCaprio, amazing actor. Jake Gyllenhaal, probably one of the coldest actors. I mean, hands down. I mean, the list goes on, but shout out to 90s film. Just take a moment and shout out to 90s films because they killed it. See, and that's why nowadays, a lot of the movies that's being made are reruns, the TV shows are being remade. That lets you know how good those projects and those concepts were. So my inspiration is 90s. That's my inspiration. You know what? I'm about to tell you what it is, but this is not like when somebody asks me that, I hate to say this because it don't sound like, oh, because I'm an actor, I'm an artist, but Friday is I love those really creative, artistic Shakes, I love those, but Friday, hands down, was my favorite film. I don't care what nobody say. I'm gonna always say that. And I tell people, I'm like, look, if you really watch Friday, there's comedy, there's drama, it's suspense. There's a little bit of everything in there. Good music, all that. So, yeah, Friday. So my favorite my favorite project thus far is a project by Atia. I'm gonna say Atia A, because she has she got married a few years ago. She has a very long name, and I know I would butcher it, so I'm gonna say Atia A. A project we did called Next of Kin, which I acted in, and probably hands down, probably my best project. So if anybody asks me, show me one project you worked in, I would show them Next of Kin. Hands down, one of my favorites. I got to show a little range in there. And I think she's probably one of the best I tell her this all the time. You're probably one of the best directors, up and coming directors, not only in the city, not only in the region, in the country. I think she's one of the best directors. And I would say for me, and I didn't mention this before, but I will say Black women directors really gave me my start. Like all of my first projects, they were led by Black women directors. So I always shout out Black women directors. Karen Davis, shout out to her. She really gave me my start on a consistent basis. I really got to learn, and that really kind of what inspired me to be here. So I was like, man, it'd be cool. Cincinnati could be like a hub for Black women directors because it's so many. It's really a lot. So shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, so my thoughts on the scene, I would say Cincinnati probably has some of the best talent. Some of the amazing stories, the amazing stories that I come across here in the city is, it's mind-blowing. And the fact that Cincinnati has the opportunity to have Sundance, I think it could be such a catapult for other filmmakers just to get more opportunities, more resources, and really build a community here. But I would say, yeah, I think Cincinnati could really be a hub for really good boutique filmmaking. And I think we have Hollywood that make the big budget films, but I think I appreciate those films that are really focused on particular stories. Like even when Don Cheadle came here, did Miles Davis. I think telling stories that are not really that are not really told in Hollywood. There's so many stories to tell. I think even Cincinnati has a great history. Historically, I think there's a lot of things or stories that can be told about Cincinnati. So I could really honestly see Cincinnati really becoming a film hub over the next 10 years. And I would love for us to get a studio. Come on, y'all, let's get a studio. And I appreciate Cincinnati Library for even doing this project because, we need those type of resources to build the community here. So I'm grateful for this opportunity and all the opportunities to come. Cincinnati always been artistic, it's just small community, which I love, a smaller community, which we all can kind of connect, but Cincinnati always been artistic, always.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is.
Now the football team, I don't know. Sports, when it comes to sports, I don't know. Yeah, Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati is just a beautiful place. The heart of it, I think it's a small community, small-knit community. It's a place where you can kind of come and be whatever you want to be. And I think growing up in Cincinnati, I think it inspired me. It gave me the space to be able to have big dreams like that, to want to create a project and just being able to be close to resources. And, even with the William Francis Theater, just being able to have that resource where we can, hey, you need a film, you need a camera, here it go, let's go. You need this, I got this person. And, so it's one thing about growing up in New York and LA, and those bigger cities, but it's another thing growing up in a community where you can like really actually go and find exactly what you need. So shout out to Cincinnati. Yeah. Even though I'm wearing a New York hat right now. Shout out. Outside of acting, I still want to continue full-fledged with acting, directing. I really want to be a part of building the community here. I think that's another reason why I got into production and directing I wanted to create opportunity, because I think starting, there wasn't a lot of opportunities. So we needed people like myself, like a Lavelle, Brianna, a Tia, Karen, to create these opportunities for actors, actresses, or people to really find out what they really want to do. And that's the beautiful thing, is that it ain't that big of a community to where you can't try stuff like, okay, yeah, I did camera work on this project, but I want to do lighting, or I want to do audio, or I want to act, or I want to write. So the community is not that big to where you can't figure out what you want to do. So I think I want to be a part of just building the community, creating more opportunities, meaning maybe producing more, and maybe even creating a program here to where people can see themselves acting. Because I think we have a nice community, but I think it can be more. It can be more acting classes. It can be more projects. It can just be more opportunities. So I think in the future for me, I want to create more opportunities, and whatever that means. And, I'm hoping that the city gets behind, the state gets behind what we're doing here and see the potential here, and, just kind of be a part of that. And shout out to Lavelle Revels, man, for always giving me opportunities. I mean, we started working years ago, and we just been going. And I told him, I'm like, man, we just got to keep going. We got to keep the momentum going. At some point, it's just going to catch on, and people are going to see it. And at some point, we're going to look back and be like, man, like, look what we did. So, yeah, just really creating opportunities. No, not really. I would say I'll leave with this. Cincinnati, I think it's a beautiful place. Anybody that has a passion for acting, I think you should try it. You should do it. And what I will say, as far as actors, don't try to be like any other actor or look like any other actor. I think that's the most beautiful thing about acting, is that all personalities are appreciated. And I think honestly, Hollywood and anybody are looking for unique personalities. They're not looking for the next Denzel, or they're not looking for the next whatever. It's your unique personality that really stands out. So if you look a certain way or you talk a certain way, like, use that. Like, that's your superpower to really get seen and get noticed by production. So be unique. And this is the field to be yourself. Like, I mean, you should always be yourself, but that's the field to be yourself, because from that, ideas come. Oh, I love how you say this, or something that you do, it creates an opportunity or an idea or a vision. So those are the things that really creates those ideas. So to all the actors, up and coming actors in the Cincinnati community and local communities, be yourself as an actor. Bring your own unique self to the set. Beyond that, thank y'all for having me. Shout out again to Cincinnati Library for giving us this opportunity. This is amazing. This is dope. Support the library. Come to the library. Yes, thank you. And I want to say also, the library really has been a part of my last several projects, because majority of my projects, we rehearsed at the library. We did script reading at the library. We actually did a film premiere at one of the libraries. So we really maximize these resources at the library. So shout out to the library. Yeah.